Welcome to the Run Out. I am Neil Barrett. He is Brandon Hooten. We have a ton to get into today. We missed a whole week. I don't know if I want to say accidentally. We didn't accidentally miss a week, but we're not planning on missing a week. Just kind of happened with the holidays, and then I, as you can probably hear, got sick with the flu, and that kind of messed things up. But we are back, and we have so much to talk about. Jack Hanna finally gets his move. Buffalo and Saskatchewan might be on a collision course once again. And Jordan Faison gives up Lacrosse. But before we get into that, it has been quite a 2 weeks. Brandon, how you been?
Good. Just, busyness of the holidays, kind of wrapping up finally, which is good.
Yep.
Just still looking at cards like usual, watching lacrosse. So, can't complain. Ready to kind of get back on the grind with a lot of lacrosse coming up, really, because between NLL, college starts up soon. Just finalized. Going to follow a club team again this year, so that's a ton of lacrosse I'll be at least shooting and being around. So, excited for that, but just kind of gearing up for that towards the end of the month.
Nice. I noticed right before we started, you have on a Mammoth Championship shirt.
I do. along with the banner right there.
Oh, I can't see the banner. The screen's like this big right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, the viewers can see if they're watching. You can see it right there, right over my shoulder. Gotta remind the people what happened 3.5 years ago. Feels like it just happened, but here we are. It's, I guess, technically a long time ago now.
Did you get anything cool for Christmas?
As far as you will like, yeah, I got a chrome shirt, I got a chrome hat. My dad definitely went to the sale, got himself some, and he was like, I'm gonna get some for him too. So yeah, so he got me more chrome stuff, which is hilarious. I was gonna wear it today, but it's not PLL season, so I didn't throw it on. But yeah, I got cards, some cool Bronco stuff. I don't know. Everything I got basically was sports related. I got a golf practice kit, which is sick. I'm so excited for that because I got heavy into golf last year and just need some time to practice. So that's going to get a ton of use over the next couple of months before we get back on the links. I'm excited.
Brandon plays golf. Who knew?
Oh, dude, it's so fun. I'm bad, but it's so fun. But over I could see the progression over the course of the summer that I was like, okay, I know I can get decent at this. And then I started watching our guy Shane's golf Instagram from Stick Talk, and I'm like, yeah, I'm never getting to that level. Like, he's legitimately good at golf.
Wait. Shane has a golf Instagram?
Yes. Everyone should go follow it if you're a golf head.
How did I not know that?
I don't know. I think it's like Shane Goes Golf or something like that. I like it. It's a peaceful content. It's all just him golfing and whatnot. But yeah, you watch that stuff and you're like, yeah, I just can't. He's hitting it straight every time, getting pars. At least is what he's claiming. I'm over here getting bogey, double bogey, and I'm like, hey, bogey golf is good golf type of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
No, that's funny because they did that. They did an episode a week or two ago, and they were talking about Shane playing golf, and I thought it was just them busting chops like they always do. I didn't know that there was a legitimately a thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to go find that. I'm gonna have to go.
It's good stuff.
Check that out. I've only done about a third of my Christmas at this point. We went down to North Carolina and did Christmas with my family. My wife and I have decided that because our anniversary is January 1st, so we decided. At the beginning of December, we were like, you know what? Since we're traveling, we're doing all this stuff. You and I will do our Christmas and our anniversary maybe towards the end of January to get through holidays with family and all that stuff. And then because we were out of town, her side of the family decided that we're actually doing it with her family this weekend. So it is what, January 6th, and we've only done about a third of our Christmas so far. So I got mostly Manchester United stuff, not lacrosse stuff.
There you go.
Because not that it's done us any good. We just fired our manager. Great, awesome, good times. And then the other big thing was that I quit my job last week, so that's fun. I quit my job, and the next day I woke up with the flu.
See,
So
what's that
I
law
haven't
where like
even
everything
had.
that goes wrong, that can go wrong, will go wrong?
Yeah. I haven't even been able to enjoy my time off.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've just been sick, and then trying to get some freelance work to keep me afloat for a little bit. And but enough with real world. Let's talk some lacrosse. Let's Before we get into the games from this past weekend, we're not going to go back and check those out. But there was one story that we need to talk about before we get into the games, because it will obviously impact the games from this weekend. And I wanted to give you the chance to talk about it. Although I know you do like 3 other podcasts, you have probably talked about it enough. But that is Jack Hanna, of course, finally moving to the Colorado Mammoth. I see the smile just even saying it. There's a smile on your
What can I
face.
say? What can I say?
Well, like I said, you've already talked about it, but it's going to inform how we talk about the rest of the Mammoth games on this episode. So I just thought we should get it out of the way.
I mean, there's not much to talk about if we watch that last game. Dude's a baller. Like I said, I don't remember when I said it on here, but it was a while ago, I feel like now, where I was like, he'll be a Mammoth by the end of the year. And
It's
sure
definitely
enough,
a while ago.
and like, I guess I didn't get to talk about it on here, but during the blowout against the Georgia Swarm, what was that, 2 weeks ago now? The trade got broken like during the game. Like, like literally I'm standing there, like photographing whatever. I check my phone during a timeout. I see it get sent to me. I was like, oh snap. And like, again, this is not national news. Like, no one else knows. Like, they're all upset, obviously, because we're getting pummeled on the floor, which, I mean, rightfully so. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, this doesn't even matter, because we're about to get Jack Hanna, and it's going to be great. Like, yeah, this sucks right now, but whatever. So then, of course, like, we go to the press conference. I can't ask about it because we just lost by 9. I'm not going to be that guy that's like, hey, so Jack Hanna, Coach went off. I put out a couple quotes on my Twitter, but that doesn't even come close to everything he said. He was just not happy. And then later that week, you find out he's going to play. You find out TJ Kamizio gets put on the evaluation list and is going to play this upcoming week. So yeah, lots of good stuff in Mammoth World, aside from Ryan Lee going down this weekend, which sucks. But it's not season ending, from what I'm told. So that's helpful. But overall, very good week to be a Mammoth fan.
Well, we'll talk about this more, but I wanted to ask you. Obviously, Ryan Lee's injury can affect this a little bit, but how do you feel about the Mammoth now? Like, what are your expectations now for this season?
Like I said at the beginning of the season, now they're playing, instead of for 7th or 8th, probably going for 6th, maybe 5th, maybe higher. But I mean, that's why when we talked about that weeks and weeks ago, I said, if we can get Jack Hanna and pair him with Q, Malcolm, Lee, and eventually Eli McLaughlin, like, the offense is going to be deadly. And then at that point, it doesn't really matter what happens on the back end too much, because you can kind of just outscore teams, which we just saw against Rochester. We gave up 13 and still scored 18. Now, granted, like, 3 of those were empty netters, but even then, that's like, 15, 16 goals earned. So what does suck is, how long is Ryan Lee going to be out? I have no idea. Is Andrew Q coming back this week? Is it going to be next week? Because last week I was told a week or 2. Then this weekend I was told another week or another 2. So I'm not totally sure what's going on with his thumb, but it must be pretty serious to be out this many weeks. So it's just going to kind of depend on those injuries, especially just with the schedule coming up, because they're on the road for 2 straight weeks and then back at home finally. But they do play Georgia, which already beat us, and then Halifax. So it's just, I feel good about it, but it's just going to be tough kind of managing those injuries for the time being, I think.
Yeah. And those finger injuries are really tough. This is so random, but there's a very well-known WWE wrestler who's been out now for almost a year, and she broke a finger, and she just, like, it just will not heal, and she can't get back. So, that just was what it made me think of. We've been waiting for her return. Anyway, it's irrelevant, but you kind of touched on it. Let's just go ahead and talk about it, because you kind of already talked about it a little bit. But first game that we'll talk about from this weekend, we'll just jump right into the Colorado Rochester game from this weekend, where Colorado did win 18-13. This is one of the games from this weekend I'm looking at. I was sick. I didn't watch much of them. I kept up with kind of everything, but I didn't really get to watch any of them. But it definitely, the question that I had is like, who's really good? I feel like every time we think we know, that team immediately just like goes the other direction. Like I think we thought Rochester was really good. I think coming into the weekend, admittedly, a lot of things had changed with Colorado in the meantime. But, you know, coming off of that Georgia game where they just got the doors blown off of them. And again, lots of things changed between that game and this game. But if you had told me Colorado was going to win that game and win it fairly comfortably, that would have been a surprise to me. So that's kind of my theme question for the weekend is like, who's really good? But, you know, Jack Hanna and Will Malcolm both had 9 points. That's crazy. Wait, 9 points? Did Jack have 9?
Jack had 8, but
he had 8. For some reason, I was thinking he had a hat trick. But he did not. I mean, you were there. We saw your photos. What did you see?
I mean, pretty much what I've been saying. When the offense is getting contributions from a lot of different guys, it's really, really good. It's obviously easy to point out the 9 from Malcolm, 7 from Lee, and the 8 from Hanna. But like Dylan McIntosh with 2 points, Jalen Chaster with 5 points. I believe that's a season high, if I'm not mistaken. Vela with 5 points himself. You know, you get 1 from Robert Hope, Jordan Gillis, Pelado, a couple from Warren Jeffrey, Braden Saris, who finally scores his first goals. Like, when the team's like spreading the ball around and spreading the wealth, like they're a very good offense. And I thought for giving up 13 goals, I thought Dylan Ward was actually exceptional. Like, he made some saves in this game that I was like, that shouldn't have been a save. Like, point blank period. And I thought too, like, just obviously the tale of, you know, the story of two sides here, but watching the Georgia game, you know, the week prior, and then watching this one, all of a sudden I was okay. Transitions shored up. They're not getting easy looks. Rochester isn't. Like, outside of the one Pacino goal, I felt like they were shutting that down pretty well. I thought they actually hustled for rebounds, which they didn't do against Georgia. They took better quality shots. There was no unsettling possessions for the most part. And that's where, like, I think Rochester kind of did as much as they could. Like, they still played a very good game. Their offense was still very good. Really, I'm kind of confused with their idea of changing goaltenders, to be honest. Like, you look at the numbers, and Hartley gave up 9 goals. Hutchcraft gave up 6 goals. And they switched them 2 or 3 times, I want to say, to where it was like, why not just leave one in? Like, at this point, it got to a point where Colorado just couldn't be stopped, in my opinion. Like, I mean, you look at that second quarter, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. And you go up at halftime 11-6. Like, I think they're still, to answer your question, still a very, very, very good team. This is just a game where I think I think Colorado got immensely better, and I don't think Rochester really expected them to gel that well immediately. Which, whether that's them playing down or just sometimes you just get beat, and that could be what this game is. But yeah, definitely just a tough goaltending night for them overall. But they still got a lot of good offensive production. You know, Connor Fields still had a crazy game with 8 points. Lansbury was 7. McConvey was 6. Ryan Smith with 5. Like, all their stars scored. But the other thing I noticed too was early on they could only score on power plays. Like, you look at that first quarter, all 4 of their goals were on the power play. Aside from 1. So that's 80% of your goals. And then throughout the game, all of a sudden they found their rhythm and they started scoring. But then it was like anything that they did, the Mammoth just kind of matched, which isn't something we've seen from Colorado so far. So that was exciting as a fan. But as a lacrosse fan, this was one of my favorite games I think I've watched. Just going back and forth the entire time, and little runs here and there was kind of exciting to watch.
Yeah, it seems like it was the tale of two of opposite goalkeeping issues, where Dylan Ward had 44 saves and was just like doing everything, and Ryland Hartley, and Riley Hutchcraft just couldn't. Neither one of them could do anything to really kind of keep their team in it. And it's like you said, if you can keep one of them in it, get one of them going a little bit, maybe. I mean, if you think about it, if they make 3 extra saves, like you were talking about, Colorado had several empty net goals at the end. If they can flip 3 of those goals into saves, like maybe this is a different thing. And of course, we could play that game every week about every game. Oh, if they only made 8 more saves, or whatever, like you could always do that. But it's not crazy to think that, maybe a consistent goalie would make a few more saves or something instead of them changing back and forth like that. But yeah, I mean, Dylan Ward having 44 saves, like it's going to be hard to beat any team, much less a team as good as Colorado's offense is proving to be when Dylan Ward is making 44 saves in net. So, all right, let's head back to the beginning of the weekend where Halifax and Saskatchewan had their rematch from last week, with Saskatchewan winning by a slightly larger margin this week, 11-7. Does this game say more to you? I guess really the last 2 games, because we didn't even talk about last week because we didn't have an episode. So, is this kind of reflective of where you think these 2 teams are? Is this just kind of one of those ones where like Saskatchewan just matches up against Halifax really well? Like, what's going on here?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, I think Saskatchewan just kind of has their number, to be honest.
Yep.
But I also just think Halifax, this is why I said let's pump the brakes a little bit when there was a little bit of hype going on with Halifax, because as good as they were playing, I felt like at some point they were going to kind of get brought back down to kind of average out that play, if you will. And you see another really, really good game from Warren Hill. Only 10 goals allowed, 42 saves. But then on the other side, Frankie only needed to make 30 saves to win this game. So that to me is a tad, not alarming per se, but just something to kind of look at and think about, because if they're going to be a team that really lives and dies by Warren Hill being not just good, not just great, but like exceptional, it's going to be really tough for them, even with the offense that they have, which to me is what's frustrating about this team, especially when you go, no goals in the first quarter. You have a big second quarter where you score 5, you match them with 2 in the third, and then you drop a goose egg again in the fourth. Well, as we know, you can't really go 1 quarter, let alone 2 quarters in any lacrosse league and win games. And that to me is frustrating, especially when you go 2 for 5 on the power play and they go 4 for 8. Like, so they need to be more disciplined. First off, they had more penalty minutes. They have less shots on goal. They didn't win as many faceoffs. So Jake Naso did a great job with Jake Withers, which was surprising to me. And now we saw them lose twice back to back in different settings as well. That was the frustrating part, was if you're going to lose one, lose the one that's away, but win your home game. You lose that by 1 goal, and it's like, now you lose by 4 away. Is this a situation where they really are just the better team, Saskatchewan? And that, to me, that's how I ranked them early in the year, was like that. So that's why I feel like this is kind of who these teams are. Not to say that Halifax can't come back and eventually overtake Saskatchewan, but as of right now, this is who they are.
Yeah, I'm always a little hesitant when people automatically go to, well, they beat them on the field, so they're the better team. And I'm like, we don't talk about matchups, and sometimes a team can be a lesser team, but own the matchups. And that, I know people will be like, oh, that's dumb, they won the game, but like, you can match up against a team that you're technically not as good as and win fairly consistently. We see it all the time in sports. I'm also curious because when we've talked about, like, is Halifax going to kind of revert back and be the Halifax that we expect them to be, we are usually talking about that, we're having that conversation in the context specifically of Warren Hill. And Warren Hill still had 42 saves. He kept them to, they only scored 10 goals against him. Like, you know, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, I'm going to say this and then we're going to get to someone else and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, them too, probably. But off the top of my head, Warren Hill's got to be front runner for goalie of the year right now. And he's shown no real signs of letting up on that. Again, it's a long season. There's still plenty of time for that to change, but he's still who he was at the beginning of the season. I don't think that we think that this offense is like poor.
No, it's a very good offense. That's right. The issue with them is when Warren Hill says, "Hey, I'll hold the team to 10, just get 11," and you can't get 11, that's a problem. When he holds a team to 10, well, I guess he did that back-to-back weeks. Now that I think about it, because I mean, in this game they had the empty netter, so he only gave up 10. Last week they lost 10-9. It's just like their offense. To me, there's no excuse. This offense has been together for years at this point. You have Randy Stotts, who's very good. Cody Jamison's very good. Dawson Theed's very good. You have, Brendan Bomberry, who's now there. Clark Peterson, who's very good. You have a great transition game with Ryan Tarafanko. You got solid rookies from last year, like Mike Robinson. Like all these guys, and I'm like, where's the disconnect now? And again, part of it is just that Saskatchewan matches up with them super, super well. But that's going to be a thorn on their side all season long and beyond. So they're going to have to figure out like what they can do to negate that. One thing I just saw too was the Thunderbirds had 7 players who scored a point. Saskatchewan had 11. So again, even outside of just Warren Hill, if their offense is reliant on just a few guys as opposed to spreading the wealth a little bit, I recognize points aren't everything, but it does say something when a defense says, hey, we only have to focus on 1 or 2 real threats on offense. Whereas when the Thunderbirds are playing defense, now you got all these guys that you have to actually watch out for that are legitimate threats. So again, this is not a knock on like them as a team, because I do think they are a very solid team, but I do think there are some questions about like putting it all together against these teams that are contenders. Like what's going to happen when they go play Buffalo again? They obviously got that overtime win. What happens when Buffalo figures it out and puts it all together? They just put up 15 on Vegas. Who's to say that they aren't going to start putting up 15 a game against everybody else?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I hesitate to. Part of me, the reason that I'm like, maybe it's just a matchup is just because like we have seen them so far this year be very good offensively, be very good defensively, have Warren Hill just standing on his head at the back end. And we got, maybe 2 of those things, but not that offensive production. And like you said, in back-to-back weeks, you got those 2 things happen and not the offensive production. And so it just makes me wonder, and obviously we'll see over the next few weeks, months, whatever it is, what happens. But it just makes me feel like maybe Saskatchewan just has their number, and maybe the best bet for them is that they finish in a position where they don't have to play Saskatchewan.
Yep, but I mean, like I said, that's gonna be there at some point, though. It is gonna be Halifax's issue. Like they go in this week, play Ottawa, they should win. They then play Oshawa, they should win. Like if they can win all the games they should win, but then when it comes time to win the games that they probably shouldn't, how do they respond to that? That's why I'm so hesitant to say that they're like this incredible title contending team, because as far as I'm concerned, Saskatchewan is a title contender, and if they meet them in the playoffs right now, I don't feel very good about Halifax's chances. I'm just going to be honest. Well,
the flip side of that conversation is that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it's been now, they played Buffalo, who is a title contender and did do enough to get across that finish line and win. And so, like I said, my question for this weekend is like, who's actually good? Like I feel like every team in the league has question marks, because if we say that about Halifax, well, Halifax just beat Buffalo. So
True.
where's Buffalo in this? Even as good as they look, and we'll get into what they just did against Las Vegas in a minute. But then again, it's Las Vegas. Like, it's kind of up and down. So
I think the different. Real quick, not that I disagree with that. I think the difference with them is that this has been the same issue and question marks with them year over year, to where I feel like it's more of a fair statement. Whereas like Buffalo, they got beat flat out, but at least we've seen them get over the hump 3 straight times.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's only where I'm coming from. But I still think they're going to be a good team. It's just it'll be I'm going to laugh if at the end of the year we're looking back and like, oh yeah, the only bad losses really were against Saskatchewan, and they kind of beat everybody else. Because at that point it will be just, hey, it was the matchup.
Yeah, right. Right. And that's just kind of where my head is at right now. Obviously, like you said, they go play Buffalo again and get the doors blown off of them or whatever. Like, it's going to kind of bear out, but it's just kind of my question now. But let's move over to the next game of the weekend, which saw the Ottawa Black Bears escape Oshawa with a 16-14 victory. I say escape. Escape might be, I don't know, man. This was kind of a fun game, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it. So I just saw the final score. Looks like a ton of scoring though, which is good for Oshawa. I know it's not fun in a loss, but you know what? I mean, they put up almost their season total in one game. So, I mean, that's solid. Ottawa, again, I mean, goodness gracious, the amount of goals that they score. I thought Vegas was going to have to outscore teams. Man, Ottawa's got that down to a T. I am very curious to see what happens this week against Halifax with them. Like, if this is their plan and they can execute it, cool. But it doesn't feel like it's going to be sustainable for like long term. But when you got Jeff Teat putting up 10 points and Hellier with 5 and Riley O'Connor with 5, I mean, I'll take it.
What's funny is at the beginning of the year, we talked about how we thought Ottawa was going to have Jeff Teat have these like 9, 10, 11-point games in order to win. And this isn't necessarily the best example because he did have 10 points in this game, but by and large, that hasn't borne out to be true. He has not had to be that level of guy because they have Rob Hellier and these other guys that can put up points consistently and win games that way. But somewhat ironically, it feels like maybe Oshawa is now that team that Alex Simmons had 11 points and they lost. They have become that team that's going to need someone, and I'd like to say it doesn't always have to be Alex Simmons, but so far this season, it's pretty much been him or nobody. Even though, we know Dyson can score, we know Ty Kurtz can score, like we know that they've got other guys, Ethan Walker's another that can like rack up points, but it seems to be that it's Alex Simmons going off for them to even have a chance. Like you said, in this game they scored 14, which nearly doubled their point total for the year. So,
and this was a game when like all their stars actually played really well and scored a ton. I mean, Kurtz was 7, Simmons with 11, Walker was 7, and then Williams with 5. Like, that's what else can you ask for from your offense? And then on the back end, your defense just kind of lets you down. Like that, this team more than anything is just so dysfunctional as far as like you need both to work together, and instead one side's working, one side's not, and then they fix the one side, but then the other side stops. And again, I recognize that they're playing Jeff Teat and a hot offense, but I just want to see him put it all together. Like, especially after seeing him go to the finals a couple of years ago, like you just want to see him get back to that. Like, I know they can get back to that, and I know the players that they have are the right players for the team. It's just for whatever reason they can't quite put it all together. And Like they just can't, they cannot give up as many goals as they did in this game, especially when you're giving up 4+ goals in a quarter 3 times. That's unacceptable, and especially like I know they lost Joe Nardello for the year, but they still won 19 of 34 faceoffs in this
Mhm.
game. So there's not that excuse. They outshot them. They could have been better on the power play, I guess, but defensively was just it seems like it was kind of a nightmare for them in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm with you. It doesn't, like you said, they kind of were leading every kind of category. They just weren't, like you said, they weren't doing enough defensively to keep the ball out of the back of their net, which is why the only category that they lost is the only one that matters, the final score. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I guess power play, like you said. Um, I don't, I'm wondering, again, like we talked about, like I said, who's good? Where is Ottawa in this? Because I think it's fair to say at this point, you know, coming at the end of week 6, they've been better than I think we thought they would be.
Offensively, for sure. I
Yeah.
still, again, they're gonna have to outscore a lot of people, a lot of teams, but yeah,
And
I think I underestimated the Teat Hellier. Even though I acknowledged that was going to drastically help them, I think I underestimated just how big of an impact that was going to have on the
yeah,
rest of the team. Like, I
yeah,
knew those two guys were going to play well and put up points, but then you look at the numbers and you're like, dude, they had 4 other guys with 5 points.
yeah,
3 other with 2. Like, all of a sudden, all these other guys are getting even more confidence. So we're not like even Connor Kiernan and Riley O'Connor, they're not drawing the number 1 assignments anymore, or number 2, I guess, at that point. Like, so it's just all that stress and pressure is kind of off of them to where now they can just go literally score goals, which is awesome to watch offensively.
yeah, yeah. They have a freedom that they haven't necessarily had in other years. In a weird way, I want to say that I'm almost more impressed by their defense because while I think you're right, I think the offense is um exceeding expectations. Like you said, they're playing with a freedom and everything. I think coming into the season, I thought, yeah, you guys are going to score points, but you're not going to be able to stop anyone from scoring. And while I wouldn't say that they're, lighting the league on fire defensively, they are doing enough to win games that I wasn't thinking that they would be able to do. If you had asked me who was going to win this game in week at the beginning of the season before any of these games were played, you said week 6, Oshawa and Ottawa are playing. Who wins that game? I'd have said Oshawa. Uh, so, you know, obviously, like you said, it's probably a little bit of offense and a little bit of defense. They're both kind of up there, but I don't know, just kind of one of the kind of honestly, maybe even one of the bigger surprises for me so far in this season has been Ottawa and how
Yep.
how well they have played.
And
So
that's been really, really good for them as a franchise, especially with, the
yeah,
attendance and stuff. Like, say what you want. This is what needs to happen for them to grow. Is wins. Doesn't matter how you get them. If it's 1 goal, if it's 7, whatever. So from that perspective, it's very, very encouraging, not only for them but
mhm,
also for the league. So I can't complain. They're a fun team to watch in general, which is not something you can really say about the franchise, historically in their short time in the league.
yeah. Yeah, no, and like you said, even the games that they've lost, they've been competitive in. They've been fun to watch. They are a much more enjoyable team than I think any of us thought they would be coming into the season. Let's move over to the Buffalo Bandits versus the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. This was the annual Tucker Out Lymphoma game in honor of uh, Las Vegas head coach's son and Dyson Williams' brother, Tucker Williams. Buffalo won the game 15-13. This game was a lot. I I think we all thought that Buffalo was going to kind of run away with it, and then the Desert Dogs had 8 goals in the fourth quarter to kind of make it look a little bit more respectable, at least on the scoreboard, even if it was not really ever that much in doubt. The Desert Dogs scored. So hard to say Desert Dogs. It's such a weird thing. Excuse me. The Desert Dogs scored 6 of the last 7 goals to kind of make it go from a 14-8 game to a 15-13 final score. So maybe there's a bit of the Bandits kind of taking their foot off the gas there, but all said and done, I think this is more or less where we kind of expected this game to be in the end.
Yeah, I guess kind of. I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know that I had it scoring 28 goals, necessarily. But I mean, yeah, I mean every star in this game did what they needed to do, which is, I mean, that's what we expected. I just think they got a lot of help as well from the non-stars that kind of made this game as high scoring as it was. And then obviously, like you said, in that fourth quarter, I think Buffalo just kind of took their foot off the gas, quite frankly. To give up 5 straight and make it a 2-goal game. Thankfully, Dane Smith got that 15th goal for them, which, suddenly made it a 3-goal game and put it out of reach. But, I mean, Matt Vince, 13 goals allowed. Landon Kells, 9 goals allowed. I think, if I remember correctly, Alex Bouquet did play as well. Yeah, he did. 5 goals allowed, 12 saves. So again, not totally sure what happened there. I didn't get to watch a ton of this game. But the clips that I saw were absolutely electric. Obviously, Kluch and Fraser coming back to Bandit Land was, highly anticipated. And both of them, I think, played very well with 4 points each. So can't complain there. And this, if they can figure out their goalie situation in Vegas, like this could be a really good matchup, I think, in the playoffs as well. Just with the star power on both sides, it could be really fun.
Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned the 28 goals. On Preston's picks, they ask you to put the number for the tiebreaker thing that they do, the number of, and all season, I've just put 27. I was like, it's going to be 27. It's going to be 27. And then all season it's been, like 12 goal games and stuff. And it's like, what in the world? So this was the first week I put 21. And of course, well, it wasn't this game, but like every game this weekend, like popped off, and it was like, cool, great.
I think I put 25 for this one, so I did expect it to go kind of, higher, but definitely not 28. Like, but
but of course, the second that you think you have anything figured out in this league, it just they just
it happens. It's all right. Who's good again? We don't know.
Except that I'm getting schooled by a 4-year-old again.
I told you. I tried to tell you. 4-year-old knows ball, dude.
Yeah, I don't think that there's really a whole lot to talk about this game. I think when I say this kind of bore out the way that I would have expected, I would expect Vegas to be able to score the kind of goals, the number of goals that would keep them in roughly any game. Even, and again, we can say that the Bandits kind of took their foot off the gas or whatever, but they scored 8 in the fourth quarter. Like, they can score in bunches. They can kind of hang with anybody, but ultimately it feels like against most of the better teams, they're going to struggle to keep the other team off the scoreboard enough to win games, especially when you're playing the likes of the Bandits and some of these, like, not just good teams, but like championship caliber teams. Sorry, not just good offenses, but like championship caliber teams. So that's kind of what I mean when I say that. So I don't know that there's, like I said, a whole lot to talk about, because it kind of went the way I think we would have expected for the most part, give or take.
Yeah, so that's fair.
We already talked about Colorado and Rochester, so we'll move over to the final game of the weekend that saw Calgary defeat the San Diego Seals 15-11. my question for you, I saw a lot of people picking Calgary to win this game. You may have even been one of them. I don't even know. I don't know that we.
Yeah, but
even
I forgot to change my Preston's picks and stuff, so that my record's now wrong. But I did pick Calgary.
Um, where does this rank in terms of an upset for you? Because obviously the Calgary's coming in 0-3. San Diego was 1-1 coming in, but it doesn't seem like many people really expected San Diego. I'm not gonna lie, I picked San Diego to still win. Even though I'm high on this Calgary team, I really, like this Calgary team. But not many people were picking San Diego to win. So I just wondered where this falls in terms of an upset ranking kind of thing.
I don't think it's much of an upset at all. I think I think they're pretty evenly matched teams skill wise right now. Just again, San Diego just had so much turnover as far as kind of their starting offense that it's tough to really have a lot of faith in them right now. I also just think Ariglieri just hasn't been himself, at least as much as kind of he was. I'm not saying he's like a bad goalie or anything, but I just think, you make 24 saves, give up 8 goals. Did they need to pull him? Probably not. Like, they didn't need to put in Cam Dunkley. Like, none of that matters, but it just kind of feels like, even though Calgary was 0-3, it's going to sound stupid, but every loss they had felt like a good loss aside from the Buffalo game when it was 13-7. Like, the other two, I felt like, okay, they're in the game, they're scoring a lot of goals. Like, if they can just find a way to patch up their defense a little bit, like, they're right there. Whereas San Diego, every time I watch them, I'm just kind of like on the edge of my seat, like in a bad way. Like, are they going to be good today, or are they going to revert back to that kind of, shell of what we consider them to be? Essentially, I don't know how to better say that, but so yeah, I don't think it's much of an upset. I think it's just really credit to Calgary that they are not just going to take a bunch of losses to do it. Like, they're going to come out, they're going to play you hard. And you look at the number of goals they scored every quarter. They put up at least 3 in every quarter. That's a winning recipe right there. So, yeah. I mean, credit to them, honestly. And obviously they had 11 power plays compared to 6 for San Diego. So, a little lopsided there, but 5 for 11. Can't be mad about that.
Yeah. I saw Eli Gobrecht has 9 penalty minutes.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude, what are we doing?
Well, I mean, fighting will do that,
Yeah, well, for sure. But I just a weird question kind of hit me. Presumably not. I'm not suggesting this. I just wondered. Could Pat Cavanaugh be a Rookie of the Year? He only played 1 game last year.
Nope, he played last year.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe there's like a special ruling on that. If I was making the rules, I would say no, you played.
Yeah, I didn't know, especially because he played played 1 game and then was like hurt. So it's not even like he was like practicing with the team all year or anything. He was probably with the team for like 2 or 3 weeks at most. So I didn't know if maybe there was like a NCAA red shirt kind of thing or anything.
I mean, maybe there is, but that's my knowledge.
It's also probably not something that's come up very often. And to be 100% fair, I'm not even necessarily suggesting that were he to be eligible, he should be the winner. But I feel like he's been fairly impressive.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many other rookies have been as impressive. I think CJ Kirst is coming on a good amount.
Michael Grace. Michael Grace got to be included.
Oh, that's true. Michael Grace. That's true.
Of all the rookies that we've watched, he's the one that I feel like is, every time I watch him, like, that dude's making an impact consistently.
Yeah. Also, another completely random side note. I almost said side quest. It is kind of a side quest here. Tanner Cook had 9 points. Who else had 9 points for the Roughnecks?
Uh, Braden Maia did have 9 points.
So, I'm glad that you said that. I have watched that kid. I'm not even going to lie and say I watched him for 4 years at High Point because I didn't. I didn't watch him until probably his junior and senior seasons at High Point. But I watched him at High Point, and then I believe he was in the PLL for 2 years, right? Kind of in and out. He was kind of
Yeah, I don't know how much he played, but I know he's technically signed.
Yeah, he's been kind of in and around. I don't think he's played a ton, but he's been in and around. It wasn't until I was watching not this game, but the game before this, where they were in Calgary, and the announcers kept calling him Brandon Maillet.
Yeah,
and I was like, at first I was like, oh, they just don't know how to pronounce his name. And then I was like, wait, these are the Calgary announcers. If anyone's going to pronounce his name correctly, it's them. So then I looked up the NLL pronunciation guide, and it says Maillet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have been watching this dude for the equivalent of 4 seasons, and I have never not heard it or anything. Everyone I've ever heard said Maillet.
Well, that's how it was until I started hearing Canadians say it. But the reason I haven't switched over to that yet, because I don't have full confirmation, but also they do that with a lot of names. We say Del Bianco, but a lot of Canadians will say Del Bianco. And so I don't know. It's just easier to just continue, and hopefully there's no disrespect taken, because I genuinely don't know how to say his name correctly.
This is the NLL pronunciation guide.
I don't doubt that it's on there, but I've heard people everywhere say it both ways, so I don't know.
See, that's what blew my mind. Was it's not something I've heard both ways. It's not something, like I said, I watched him for 2 years at High Point and 2 years in the PLL, and it was always Maillet. And then all of a sudden I'm watching this one game in Calgary, and it's Maillet, and I'm like, what? What are we saying here? So I don't know. That's weird.
I mean, he is from Ontario, so I guess the Canadians have to be right then. If anyone knows how to say it, I feel like it'd have to be them.
I felt like the Calgary Roughnecks, those announcers would have gotten a pronunciation guide and said and double checked with players and stuff. That's usually a standard practice. It's how do you pronounce your name? And they write it out. But I'm also High Point should have done that. And I don't remember if he's played for anyone else, but I know he played for the Carolina Chaos. They should have done that. I don't understand. Everything I've ever heard was Brandon Maillet or Braden Maillet. I always say Brandon. No, Braden. Yeah.
Braden.
Anyway,
yeah.
I couldn't believe that. Anyway, back to the game at hand. That was a random little side quest. Everything just froze for a second. This is another one of those games where San Diego probably won just about every kind of statistical category that you'd want to win, except for the scoreboard. And I mean, arguably penalty minutes, but like you said, fighting will do that. So where are the San Diego Seals now? Are we looking at a team that's heading towards potentially missing the playoffs?
I mean, if they continue to play like this, yeah. Again, I don't have a read on them is the problem. I feel like all the other teams, I kind of have a general sense of where they are. Whereas San Diego's truly just a wild card every week. I'm like, okay, you got some guys that I know can score the ball. They are scoring the ball, but your defense isn't there. Or you're winning a lot of faceoffs, but they're not translating into goals. And then the usual reasons pop up. Oh, you're playing Rochester. That's fair. They're a great team. But then this happens. And it's okay, well, but then you think, well, Calgary's on the upswing at the same time. So maybe they're, and all of a sudden those things kind of overwhelm your thought process of I don't know who they are, the Seals at this point. And They just haven't. They like I feel like over their time in the league, every year it's like, oh, I gotta watch out for the Seals. They're a really good team. Like they can score well, they defend well, they have a good goalie. And now it's just kind of like they're on the field. Are they gonna show up? Like I don't. I, it's hard to say, which sucks because they have a ton of guys that like I'm a genuine fan of and think are really good. Westberg had 5 points in this game. Leclerc, Small, Patcave, all 4 points. Like they're getting contributions. It's just can they string enough good games together? I think and enough wins. That's gonna be the key. Is when they play lesser quote unquote opponents, they have to win, and they're gonna have to sneak out 2 or 3 wins against really good teams as well. Which at this point is gonna be tough to come by. Not saying they can't do it, but it just we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you said is really key. That like they have to beat this Calgary team. Like
if they want to be a playoff team, they absolutely do.
Yeah, if they want to be a playoff team, absolutely. They have to beat this Calgary team. There's no excuse for that at all. Like it just it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And like you said, they seem to have good pieces. I hesitate to say the right pieces because clearly it's not working. So how right these pieces are, I don't know, but they certainly have good pieces that almost every team in the league would want. So like they just can't seem to get anything going for them. And I believe off the top of my head, and I could be wrong on this, I believe that they have put up at least 60 shots on goal in 2, if not 3 of their losses.
Wouldn't shock me.
2? I don't know. I wish there was a better way to double check that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna.
But I mean, even in their one win this year, they needed 16 goals. Really, they needed 14. They got 16 to do it. Then they put up 7, and now 11. They're another team that's just gonna have to outscore teams, I think, unfortunately. And out of the 3 teams that I think are kind of in that category right now, I have the least confidence in them, week over week at least.
Who are the others you're putting in that category?
Well, Ottawa, so far, is going to have to outscore a ton of teams, and Vegas, I think, still is going to have to outscore a ton of teams.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not...
I mean, you can make an argument for a couple others, I think, but those 3 in my mind are like the 3 that's like, that is your plan. And if it's working, like Ottawa, it's working, totally fine. But when your team like San Diego, that's not going to just continue to work just over and over and over again when you got as much turnover as they do. It's not like they have the core and they added someone like Rob Hellier, like Ottawa did. This is, okay, Pat Cav's playing a huge role. Corey Small's now coming and playing a huge role. Connor Robinson's coming in. Like, all these guys are coming in having to be, Superman to an extent. In addition to having, like, Westberg and Trey Leclerc taking a bigger role and things like that. So it's just, to answer the question, I just don't understand where they are right now. Can't even pinpoint. I hope at some point we can get that kind of feel, but it's tough to say right now.
Yeah. Random little side note, not that you are in charge of this at all, but somebody please shoot a new headshot of Zach Currier. He's still in a Calgary jersey. Like, what are we doing? I was really confused for a second when I was looking at the loose ball stats, and it's 2 guys in Calgary uniforms. Like, what are we doing? Shoot some new headshots. To say nothing of the fact that all the Calgary guys are wearing last year's jerseys and not the new jerseys, but at least they're in Calgary jerseys for the most part. Although Aiden Walsh is still in a Vancouver jersey, but at least that was. He just moved this season, right? He was in Vancouver last year, right? Yeah. Zach Currier moved 2 years ago. Like, what are we doing? Anyway, random random thought for the day. Let's head into this coming weekend. There are 8 games. This is beyond a full calendar weekend. Both Halifax and Rochester play 2 games this weekend. We have Halifax taking on Ottawa. Rochester heads over to Philly. Vancouver travels to Calgary. Saskatchewan goes down to Vegas. Toronto heads out to San Diego. Buffalo makes the trip to Rochester for the Battle of Upstate New York, which is funny. I was just realizing today that those are now the only 2 upstate teams. So that is now the battle for upstate New York. Then Halifax takes on Oshawa, and Colorado.
Yeah, put a W in that for this W we're about to take. I like it.
Colorado travels down to Georgia looking to avenge their beatdown from 2 weeks ago. That is a lot of games. We are not going to go into every single one of them. So I guess give me 1 or 2 that you're kind of looking forward to for this weekend.
Let's see. Okay, Vancouver, Calgary. Obvious reasons. It's Calgary playing Calgary. Pretty exciting. Calgary Roughnecks playing the Vancouver Roughnecks. I cannot wait for that. And then Buffalo, Rochester. I think those are the top 2 title contenders. I don't care what happened this past weekend with Rochester. I still heavily believe in them. And I want to see how they fare, not only against Buffalo, but on a back-to-back as well. Especially because they play Philly the day before. You can't take anyone lightly, but of all the teams to be playing first, well, I guess you'd want them flipped. You'd rather play Buffalo first than Philly. But regardless, should be an easier game than playing someone else. So I hope that they can still be kind of healthy enough to go in and play Buffalo pretty tightly. So those are the 2 that I'm most excited about. There's some other sneaky good matchups, I think, but those are kind of my top 2.
You know what would worry me if I was Rochester is, yes, Philly's a game they should win. What would worry me is that they are I think they're a fairly physical team, and one that's gonna kind of wear you down a bit, and then you have to go play, like you said, then you have to go play the Bandits, and at least you're home for that game, but still, like, they're gonna be rested. It's their only game of the weekend, so
yep.
Not probably the most opportune time to play them. But like you said, it'll be a good test. It'll be a good kind of litmus test to see where they are in terms of the grand scheme. Like, if they lose by 2 or 3, they have a good showing. They put up 13, 14 goals, whatever it is, and lose by a little late. They kind of hang around, but then they lose late. You can maybe say, hey, that Philly game really affected them. If they can get another shot at them, then maybe they could turn that into a win or whatever. Obviously, if they get the doors blown off of them, then maybe you think something differently. But for the sake of being different, I am definitely interested in Colorado and playing Georgia. Obviously, metric butt ton has changed for Colorado since the game against Georgia a few weeks ago. I might even also argue that a lot has changed for Georgia since then. Maybe not, but I'm going to be interested to see, was that just a fluke? Was that them making changes, having some guys injured, all that stuff, and that's what happened? Was that maybe again another kind of matchup thing, like we were talking about with Saskatchewan, whatever it is? Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see if assuming that it isn't that matchup kind of thing where, again, Georgia is kind of controlling that game from the start. I'd really like to see where these 2 teams kind of line up, because I know you aren't particularly high on Georgia, but I still like this Georgia team. The way they've played so far for most of the season has been fairly good. So this could be a really big, like, proving point for them if they have some serious aspirations for this season. If not, then I guess we'll see that too. Yeah, Halifax, Oshawa doesn't really move me. Halifax, Ottawa could be cool, but I'm really more interested in terms of like picking two games in that Saskatchewan Vegas game. You know, seeing. I know I should be higher on this Saskatchewan team, but I still just feel like I doubt them. Um, I'm not sure that beating Vegas necessarily proves anything, given what we have talked about with their struggles. Uh, but in my mind, it will maybe.
I mean, it
If
just
they
shows
can,
they can take care of teams that they're supposed to take care of.
yeah, that's fair. That's probably a good way of putting it. That they, yeah, they can take care of the team. They can beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and then if they match up, whether it's matchup or they're better than or whatever it is, if they can take care of the teams they're supposed to, beat Halifax and maybe put some pressure on a Buffalo or whoever, Rochester, whatever those teams are. But it could also be a really good opportunity for Vegas to score often, score often, and maybe run out with what would be somewhat of a surprising win. I wouldn't be hugely shocked, but even though I'm not super high on Saskatchewan yet, you know, it would still be an impressive win for me. So um not we'll move off of the NLL now. Not a whole lot of news really happened this week or the last 2 weeks for that matter. We're kind of in a little bit of a dead period other than, some NCAA lacrosse schedules being released, and regular debates about that, some preseason stuff, which you and I have decided we don't really want to get into preseason stuff too much. A lot of it doesn't really mean much of anything. But the one kind of big news story was that Jordan Faison has announced that he is leaving Notre Dame lacrosse to focus on football. I think obviously that's kind of unfortunate, but I think is one of the realities of where lacrosse is in the grand scheme of the hierarchy of sports in the U.S. and um and when people have real opportunities at major four sports, they usually choose them over lacrosse, and that's a bummer. And hopefully, it's not always that way. But you also have to understand it. Like I can't fault anyone for doing that.
I mean, if he has a chance to go make a bunch of money playing football, you got to do it. Unfortunately, does it suck for his brother that's there now? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the thing is, we've seen Jared Bernhard's a perfect example of he went, he tried it, made a good amount of money doing it. Now can come back and be a pro in the PLL. If that's something that Jordan can do, sick. And I have no doubt that he can. So it's like you said, it's just you can't fault someone for taking a shot, especially right now while lacrosse is just so small. You're not making anywhere near that. I don't care how many endorsements you have. Even a practice squad guy on the NFL is making a good amount of money. So it's good for him, obviously. I do feel bad for his brother, though.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the purest example of this has to be Pat Spencer. I mean, we all thought he was crazy. We all thought he was crazy. There was no way this dude who had not played any basketball, any competitive basketball for 4 years while he was at Loyola was gonna complete his dream of making the NBA, and now he's playing in the NBA, and it's like, well, I don't think we could fault Pat Spencer for chasing his dream. It's his dream, and money aside, it's what he wanted to do. He has been on record for years now saying that basketball was his first love, and you can't fault him for chasing his dream. Even beyond money, but especially with the idea of being able to make that money.
There's just also just more
And
opportunity in general at those levels, off the field, off the court, whatever. Like you're on the bigger stage as well, so I mean it's easier to watch you on TV and stuff, so your family can see like all these different things. And I'm just like, it makes sense, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. So I think you said he was the leading receiver for Notre Dame last year. Um, I think the thought is that with him getting into spring football and stuff, that he can even take what he did this past year and maybe even take it to another level, improving his draft chances for next year's draft. And like you said, even if in fact, I was just watching a video with Rob Gronkowski, who was a second round draft, I think is what he said, and his first deal was 4 years, and I think he said it was $2 million. He won't. Jordan Faison won't make $2 million playing lacrosse, probably
Nope.
in his lifetime.
I mean, you have to play so long to get anywhere close to that.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's a first year deal for a tight end, like or a rookie deal for a tight end. Jordan Faison could feasibly make substantially more. And Rob's whole point was that he didn't touch any of that. This whole story that he was talking about was that he didn't touch any of that money because in his mind, if I've never become the player I feel like I can be, if this is it for me, if this contract is the only thing I get, that $2 million will set me up for life. Like I can basically live off of the interest of that $2 million for the rest of my life. And same thing here. If Jordan Faison can get anywhere near that kind of money, like he'll never have to worry about it. And then, like you said, if the NFL doesn't work out for him or whatever, that lacrosse will always be an opportunity for him. He can come back. He can look. Let's be real. Chris Hogan was not the world's greatest lacrosse player when he came back to the PLL. Admittedly, he was 10 years into a pro career, so it had been a while longer for him. I don't want to disparage him too much, but I don't think that he had some of the athletic gifts that Jordan Faison has, and it's just kind of unfortunate that we're at this point, but it is where we're at, and like you said, you can't really fault him for that. So it's a bummer, but completely understandable. So before we get out of here, Brandon, what you got going on this week, man?
That's a good question. I don't. I do have a media day actually that I'm shooting Sunday for first ever gymnastics related event. So,
that's cool.
But yeah, but just media day, so nothing flying in the air or anything like that. Kind of standard stuff, but should be pretty exciting. So, other than that, Mammoth play away, watch that. I would like to get out to a different card shop if I can find another one that's kind of close, but they're all seemingly pretty far from me, which sucks. So we'll see if that happens.
Yeah. Like I said, we have family Christmas this weekend. And then I think my wife is going to fantasy football, to flag football, our nephew's flag football on Saturday. So I might be going to that. I might do something else. I don't know what's going on.
Make sure you heckle the refs if you do, and tell the coaches that you know better than what they're coaching. I hear those are the best types of parents and supporters.
Okay. Oh, that's what I need to do. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And make sure you tell the refs that they absolutely suck at their job and that they should never ref another game again. Yeah.
Dude, all that does is remind me of coaching lacrosse in southern Mississippi, and all the parents had no lacrosse experience whatsoever. None of the parents had ever played or seen or anything lacrosse. And they would talk to they would instruct their kids from the bleachers, essentially like football.
Yep.
And I was constantly having to sit kids down and be like, ignore your parents. ignore your parents. They don't know what they're talking about. Just ignore them. Don't listen to them. Like their number one thing was like, hit him, you know. And it's like, this is not football. You do not need to
Their
hit.
kids going to the box every 4 minutes for another penalty.
Right. Like hitting is fine and dandy in the right places, but like if you're just looking to hit someone all the time, like people are just gonna run past you most of the time. Like what, you know, this is crazy. So Mississippi was crazy, especially around football. I had an assignment once for a psychology class. I had a psychology class where my instructor was an FBI profiler and a youth football coach. And it was a really cool class. We watched a lot of like FBI profiling videos that were like really interesting and fun. But one of the first assignments he had us do was go to some youth football games and just observe. We just had to like take notes on the crowd. Dude, it was nuts.
Oh, it's funny.
Nuts. But also, when we rolled up, me and a buddy of mine from the Air Force went, and when we rolled up, the play we walked up, we were like finding our seats on. Kid like broke his leg in half. This is like a 6-year-old kid. Yeah, they had to bring an ambulance on the field and cart him off and everything. Like it was crazy. And all I could think was, how do people, like if I had a kid, I just don't feel like I could let my kid play football. Like every other play, like I said, these were 6-year-old kids. Every other play, someone got hurt. None near quite as bad as that one kid. But every other kid, every other play, a kid got hurt. And then these parents were just losing their mind at every single thing. And I was like, dude, I just don't know how people do this. It doesn't make sense to me. But like you said, I will carry on the legacy and let those refs know just how much
you get in there and make it about you.
That's right.
I'm going to send you that meme before you go, just so it's in your head. Yeah.
This 7-year-old flag football game is all about me.
Yep. Really, the event was hosted just so you can show up, and I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah. I thank you for putting that into the proper perspective for me.
Of course. That's what I'm here for.
All right, that is going to do it for us this week. If you want to keep the conversation going, the best place to do that is the Lax Lifers Club. That's our community, and at its core is a free Discord where you can talk all versions of lacrosse with other lifers who care about the game as much as you do. All the details are linked in the show notes or in the description. If you are watching on YouTube, you can find us on socials. Brandon is at Hoot Sports Media, and I am Neil Barrett. Wherever you are listening, make sure you are subscribed. And if you have a second to rate or review the show, it genuinely helps us more than you probably realize. And with that, until next time, as always, we will catch you guys in the comments.